Welcome guys. In this video we are going to look at the rules that you are supposed to follow when you are dealing with a composition, and we can also call this one as one to focus on common errors in composition writing. So someone can fail or maybe get a bad grade not because that person is down, but because of maybe ignoring some of these rules. So let's begin by the first introduction. So under the introduction here, we are looking at in most examination boards, composition writing is tested through English language paper 1. We know that in paper 1, you are going to write two compositions, one from section A and the other one from section B. So we are told which consist of two sections. For Examination Council of Zambia, there is section A and section B. So at least we know what happens in section A. So in section A, this is where we call it a freestyle composition. So it has 6 questions based on different types of composition. Candidates are required to choose one composition and write the essay. So you are only supposed to choose one composition from section A out of the 6 compositions that are given. Right, so now let's look at what of now section B. So under section B, this is where we look at a situational composition. So there is one situation and based composition which is compulsory. If we say compulsory, you don't have to choose. You can't even choose since you are only given one question. So it's a compulsory question. Now, the situation composition question tests different skills such as selection, arrangement, amplification of notes, paragraphing, and candidates' linguistic ability. Candidates are required to write an essay in the context of given situation. Now, in terms of numbers of words, in both sections, which is section A and B, you are required to write between 250 to 350 words. So that is in terms of the number of words. Now let's go to the errors. What are the errors that we made as we are dealing with composition writing? So I'm going to begin with common errors. So for common errors, we are going to start with the general one. So these are very simple. So we look at the failure to indicate the question number. So you are supposed to indicate the question number. For example, if you choose question 2 from section A, please make sure you indicate that question number. The number 2, answering more than one question in section A. So no matter how easy the questions may appear to be, you are only given one choice to make. So just make sure you answer one question from section A. Even if the question from section B is not familiar with you, if you don't know it, please never answer 2 questions from there. Then at times answering all the questions in the paper. This simply means that, for example, no matter how intelligent you may view yourself to be, never answer all the questions from section A. Then answering only one section, you choose to answer, let's say, section A only, or maybe section B only, because that's where you feel like the question is familiar with you. Then here we have less or more than word limit. So we are told to write 250 to 350 words. So make sure you write according. Then writing in only one paragraph. Please, we need more than 3 paragraphs. For example, any composition should have an introduction, then the main body, and the conclusion. So never write one paragraph. Then the last point here is lack of amplification in the cases of guided or situation composition. So this depends on the type of composition that you are given. So all these rules falls under the common errors. So let's move on from common errors to lexical error. So lexical errors involves the choice of words. So this is where you make a sentence incorrect by using an incorrect word in a particular sentence. So we say these are errors at the word level. For example, they include choosing the wrong word for the meaning the learners want to express. So there are times where the grammatical sentence is correct, but the meaning is not in line with what you want to write. So that's a point. For example, here we are told I made my homework. So the correct one in terms of the meaning should be I did my homework. So the mistake is the use of the word made. Then for question B, they drove their new car to Mbala last week. Instead of they drove there, since we want there to show the ownership, there that shows the ownership is this one. This is the there that shows like possession. They possess, they have this. Then the there that was used, this one indicates the place. We move on to C. When you hear the siren, run to the hall. The principal ordered the students, instead of when you hear the siren, run to the hall. So the hall that we want, like a school hall, a building, is spelled by H-A-L-L. Then this wall simply means like a completeness, the completeness, or like a one thing, right? Okay, so let's move on to now wrong pronoun. So we know that a pronoun is a word that we can use to replace a noun. So this is the wrong usage of pronouns, which is influenced by many factors. It can be maybe the language usages and the expressions. For example, we have this sentence: my father was very upset with me for failing the examination. They could not talk to me for 1 week. So the preposition, the pronoun that we have misused is they. We can't use they because we are talking about one person, my father. So since it's one person, we are supposed to use he for the father, since it's a male, then she for the mother. So it was supposed to be he could not talk to me for 1 week. They could have been correct if the first party indicated at least two individuals. For example, if they said, my father and my mother were very upset with me for failing the examination, then we could have said they could not talk to me for 1 week, because that's plural. So remember, this is a preposition for plural. So we move on to what we call colloquial. So colloquial, these are words that are considered to be informal. They are not wrong, but they are not advised to be used under academic purposes. So we are looking at informal words and the cell phone language, which simply means that in conversation, they are okay if you are just doing a conversation, or during a cell phone call. These are okay. Now, we are saying these are words that may be used in conversation but not suitable in formal writing. For example, mom. So mom is a colloquial. Instead, under composition, make sure you use mother. For dad, you are supposed to use father. Kids, you are supposed to use children. Cause, you are supposed to use because. Guy, you are supposed to use boy or friend. Kid, you are supposed to use child. Stuff, you are supposed to use things. You specified things. So these are what we call colloquial. So remember, there are more. I'm just giving you some of these examples. So there are more. You can just do a research. We move on to what we call preposition. So preposition are words that shows the direction, place, position. So the wrong preposition has been used. For example, we have Francisco used to sit in his desk. So in is a wrong preposition. Instead, we are supposed to say Francisco used to stay at his desk. So make sure you work on the preposition. So you need to know which preposition comes after this word. So we move on to what we call now spellings. This has also been an issue. So we have the first one, and most of the time the reason why we face these spelling issues it depends on the English that you maybe have been studying or maybe that you've been using for so long. For example, there are words that can be correct if you are dealing with American English. Then we also have some words that can be corrected if you are using the British. So the wrong use of spellings can be caused due to the type of English that you speak. For example, the correct spelling for color in terms of America is this one, Collor, but for British we use this one. Let's say meter. British, it's RE. We have center. The British is this one. So these are examples. You need to be careful the people that you imitate in case that person is from America. So we have the first one, receive. So the correct one is E comes before I. So the correct one is this one. So wrong, we have correct. Then it's not October. Instead, it's October. It's not grateful. It's not something that is grateful. No. The grateful, like you want to appreciate, the grateful is this one. It's GRATEFU. Writing does not contain double T. The correct one is this one. Impregnant. It's not impregnant, but impregnati. So the correct one is this one. The word a lot should not be one word. The correct one is a lot, because if we can just add double L, this becomes a lot. To allot simply means to share or to divide, let's say, between two individuals. So parent, the correct one is this one, parent. Dying, the correct one is this one, dying. Because the correct one is this one. So make sure you work on your spellings and focus on the spellings according to British, because that's what we follow according to the standard English of Zambia. Right, so we move on to now what we call homophones. So homophones are words that sometimes they may have different spellings, but may have same pronunciation. For example, we have there, they. So this one we say it's they for plural. So like for example, you can say they are coming to see us today. They are writing their exams today. Then this there is for a place. I'm coming there to see him. Then the one with IR, this is now for possession. You want to say, oh, that's their car. This is their car. So this is the one that you are supposed to use. Then the second one, we have where. This is for like plural of things. For example, they were eating, they were digging, they were, or the time that you called, they were sleeping. So this is the one that we use. Then this one where EAR is where having something on your body, having something on your body in terms of clothing. She is wearing a blue dress. Then this is where for a place like position. You want to ask, where are you? So this is one. Then we move on to the third one. So we have feel and feel. This feel is like putting something, let's say in a bucket, where you're filling it like without leaving a space. Then the feel with double EL is for feelings like emotions. Right, so we move on to it is. So this is a short form of it is. Instead of writing it is, you say it is. So now the first one, it's without the apostrophe, refers to, we can say, non-living things, ownership for non-living thing. For example, we can say I saw a dog wavering its tail, meaning we can't use his tail because his or has is used for human beings. Then it is mine, it is has. Right, so we move on to the next one. So we have has. Has is for like ownership. She has the phone. You can call her. I'm sure she has the phone. She has the phone. Then this is as. As simply means like. She speaks as that one. Then we have still. Still, this one simply means not moving, like not changing. You are still here. Then this one still is for like taking something without the consent of the owner. You are stealing. Right, so we move on to, we have this one, live. So this can be pronounced as live or live. So live is like maybe you're watching a movie or you are watching a game. You can say it's a live game. Then live in terms of I live in Zambia. So that is my home country. That's where I was born. Maybe let's not say born, but that's where you dwell permanently. Then live, this one is like living, like you leave a place, you go somewhere. She left. Then we move on to have stuff and stuff. So this one is for things. This one is for people, like members of staff, like the staff room. So you need to make sure you understand these. Then we move on to us with as and us. So us is for people, as is the one that we looked at here. Then we have for pregnant instead of pregna. So pregnant and pregnancy, these are two different. So the pregnancy is like a noun. Then the pregnant is like a verb or a situation, a condition of the moment. Then we have this fair. Fair is like doing something equal. You want to, let's make this be fair with me, meaning just be equal. Then this fare is for like transportation money. That's why it is incorrect to say I am asking for a transport money. The correct one should be a bus fare. It can be a train fare. It can be a plane fare. So it depends with the mode of transport that you are using. Then we also have some more homophones, like we have beside, and besides. So this one simply means next to. So next to, you can say, oh, can you give this phone to the person beside you, meaning next to you. Then this besides simply means apart from. Besides, apart from. So you can say besides biology, I'm also writing English, meaning apart from biology, you are also writing English. Then we also have this one, stationary, with AR, and also stationary with ER. So for me, what I used to for me to remember these words is one simply means like not moving, something that is not moving. Like we can say the car is stationary. Then this one, we are looking at office materials such as a paper. So what helps me to remember these are, you look at the stationary. So here we have letter E. Then in a paper we also have letter E. So you can use this to identify. There are so many. You can search for more. Right, so we can now move on to contracted forms. For example, it's wrong to use can't in examination during a composition writing. Therefore, you are supposed to use cannot. And as you can see, it's one word, because some people may write it like this. No, it's one word. Don't, do not. Wouldn't, would not. I'm, I am. Hours in terms of RS, hours in terms of the correct word. So move on to now grammatical errors. Grammatical errors involve writing 40 structures, which may include wrong verbal tenses, incorrect verbal forms, and syntax problems, among others. For example, I go to town yesterday. So since this is yesterday, it's past. We are not supposed to use go. Instead, we are supposed to say I went. So there is a wrong use of the word for the verb. Then B, we have when my grandfather started teaching, there were very few teachers who were Zambian. So this is also past. So what is the past for start? It is started. So we are supposed to say when my grandfather started teaching, there were very few teachers who were Zambian. I was very happy that I hugged my friend instead of I was so happy. So it's wrong to say very happy. You are supposed to say so happy. I know this is a most common mistake people make. So let's hope we've learned that. We have poor sentences construction. So there are times where you write a poor sentence in an incorrect. For example, you can see they would tell her what their secret which. So here is where you just write a poor sentence, like a sentence without meaning, sentence that you can't even connect. So make sure you work on your sentence construction, because they play a role in composition writing. We move on to using conjunctions to begin sentences. For example, and it was a great battle, but instead I got trapped by his words. So conjunction are words that we use to connect two sentences or two phrases. Then we also have another issue, run-on sentences and lack of paragraphing. It's very important. You need to write paragraphs. That's why at first we said never write one paragraph. For example, I want you to see the mistake here. When I entered the house, I found my mom crying, and she told me that my son you are late, your father has died, and we have to look for money to take the funeral to his village. So number one, the mistake of this sentence is punctuation. It is not punctuated. Then number two, we have wrong use of mom. We said instead of using mom, we are supposed to use mother. So these are some of the mistakes that are there. Then we move on to subject verb agreement. So when you're writing a sentence, you need to ask yourself, is this verb or are these verbs agreeing? Are they able to connect? For example, she comes to school every day. This is a habit. So what do? You need to use comes. We are supposed to say she comes to school every day. The earth go around the sun. This is a habit. It happens. It's known. It happens. Instead, we need to say the earth goes. So if we use go, the verb is not agreeing. There was many people at the stadium. So here the mistake is was. We are supposed to say were because it's plural. A computer gives us access to important information. Instead, a computer gives us access to important information. Then we have this one. People has died on the spot. We can't use has. Has is used when it's singular. She has, he has. Now, since it's plural, we are supposed to say have. People have died on the spot. Then we have this one. When girls sees development countries, instead of when girls see development countries. The grass have dried. So the grass, this one is, we can say uncountable. So since it's uncountable, we are supposed to use singular. So instead of using have, we are supposed to use has. So make sure you take note of that. Then we have this one. She heard the news from other people who was in that car. So the problem is who was. So was is singular. We are talking about from other people. So the correct one should be she heard the news from other people who were in that car. So make sure you work on these minor mistakes. We have the subject is missing the sentence. For example, she visited the doctor because had a terrible headache. So here the mistake is here we need to put the subject. We can't say she visited the doctor because had. We need to say because she had a terrible headache. And sometimes you may make these smaller mistakes, not because you don't know, but because you think you have written the word, instead you have not. So what you have to do is, before you hand in your final paper, make sure first you need to come up with a draft. Then when writing your final paper, you'll be able to see if you made a mistake. Then we go to singular plural agreement. So since here we have used these is for plural, so we can't say photography. Instead we are supposed to say photographs. The people is poor. Is for singular. Therefore we are supposed to say the people were poor, or the people are poor, depends with the tense. We go to infinitive. It takes 2 hours to driving to Ndora. So here we can't put the ing. So the correct one is it takes 2 hours to drive to Ndora. Since here we have used the word to, but if this If this was not there, the sentence is okay. It takes 2 hours driving to Ndola. This now becomes okay. So to eating Ishima with cutlery is not easy. Instead of to eat Shima with cutlery is not easy. But if we omit to, then we have eating Ishima with cutlery is not easy. So that becomes correct. So that's it for this video. If you find this video interesting, give it a thumbs up.